Columns of blue light rose from the mountains as the defense towers tried to repel the dark swarm that had filled the heavens. The Void Swarm, billions of mechanical creatures shaped like razor-winged locusts, had descended upon the alien kingdom without mercy. Their hunger for energy knew no end, and their metal bodies shone like silver knives in the burning sky. In the capital city of Auralis, the alien Queen Sarathiel watched the destruction from the royal spire. Her people, the Zeltharans, were tall and elegant beings made of semi-transparent crystal and glowing veins of light. Their world was beautiful once, filled with gardens that shimmered like glass and oceans that glowed softly under two suns. But now those same oceans boiled under the swarm's plasma storms. The Queen's voice trembled as she spoke to her generals. "Are the defense grids still down?" One of them bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty. The central nexus is unresponsive. We lost communication with the orbital shields." A flicker of despair crossed her face. The defense grids were their only hope. Without them, the swarm would reach the city in less than 2 rotations. Then the sky flashed white. Something was falling through the atmosphere, something different. It wasn't a swarm drone. The object was surrounded by fire and smoke, leaving a long trail of light as it fell toward the southern plains. The palace sensors quickly identified it, a small damaged starship of unknown origin. The Queen turned sharply. "Not from the swarm?" "No, Majesty," replied the chief engineer. "Its structure is organic metal hybrid. Unknown design." A new fear grew in the Queen's heart. Another invader? Another threat? But she hesitated. Perhaps she thought it was a chance, however small, that fate had sent help from the stars. Far away, in the smoking remains of that crashed ship, Captain Daniel Hayes groaned and opened his eyes. The world around him was strange. The sky had 2 suns, one gold, one silver, and the ground shimmered like melted glass. He could smell burnt circuits, fuel, and sand. His ship, the Artemis IV, a Terran scout vessel, was torn in half. Sparks flickered from broken panels, and his AI companion's voice buzzed weakly through the static. "Damage critical. Engines offline. Life support failing." Daniel coughed, forcing himself to sit up. "Yeah, I noticed." He checked his suit. The air was breathable, barely. His helmet display scanned the surroundings. No known coordinates. No friendly signals. Just a huge energy storm spreading in the upper atmosphere. He looked toward the distant horizon. Black dots filled the sky like locusts. Thousands, maybe millions. What in the name of Earth? Those were ships, no machines, swarming in formation. They were attacking something, though from this distance he couldn't tell what. He exhaled slowly. "Well, Dan, looks like you picked the wrong neighborhood to crash in." He pulled out a portable tool case, a handheld plasma cutter, and a battered data pad. If he didn't fix the comms, he'd never send a distress call to the Terran fleet. But first he needed to find power. His ship's cells were dead. That was when the shadows fell over him. He turned and froze. Standing before him were 6 tall, glowing figures. Their bodies were like living crystal, their faces elegant but alien, their eyes bright with inner light. They carried weapons made of light energy, shaped like spears and blades. Daniel slowly raised his hands. Okay. Not hostile." They spoke in tones that sounded like musical notes mixed with electricity. His translator flickered, trying to process it. After a few seconds, words formed through the static. "Identify yourself." "You are not of the swarm," Daniel nodded. "No, I'm not. Name's Captain Daniel Hayes, human, from pretty far away." The leader tilted her head. "Human? We have no record of your kind." "Yeah, that seems to happen a lot lately," Daniel said quietly. The aliens looked at one another, then signaled him to follow. He didn't resist. His options were limited: follow or die of dehydration in an alien desert. They brought him to a shining city of glass and light. Towering spires reached the clouds, connected by energy bridges and glowing streets. Even in ruins, it was the most beautiful place Daniel had ever seen. Everywhere, he saw people working frantically, carrying parts, repairing broken shields, and tending to wounded civilians whose crystal bodies flickered weakly. The swarm's attack had left deep scars. Finally, he was led into a large hall where the Queen herself awaited. Queen Sarathiel stood tall, her crystalline crown reflecting soft blue light. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of command. "You are the stranger who fell from the skies," she said. Daniel bowed slightly. "That's me, Your Majesty. And I mean no harm. My ship was damaged in a wormhole jump. I crashed here by accident. The Queen studied him carefully. His body was strange, soft, organic, made of flesh rather than crystal. Yet there was strength in his eyes and something else, compassion. You are alone? She asked. Yes, he replied. But I can help. I'm an engineer. I can fix things. I saw the attack from the planes. Your planet's defense grid looks damaged. At that, murmurs spread across the hall. The Queen's advisors looked uneasy. One of them, an elder named Vorath, stepped forward. Our systems are beyond your understanding, off-worlder. You would only waste time. Daniel smiled faintly. Try me. The Queen raised her hand. Enough, Vorath. If this human speaks truth, we lose nothing by allowing him to try. She turned to Daniel. Our world's fate hangs by a thread. If you can restore even a single tower, we will owe you a great debt. Daniel nodded firmly. Then point me to your worst problem. The Queen assigned her daughter, Princess Leora, to guide him. She was younger, her crystalline form glowing with a faint violet hue. Her voice was gentle but curious. You truly believe you can fix our systems? She asked as they walked through the broken corridors of the defense tower. Daniel shrugged. Belief has nothing to do with it. You just start somewhere and don't stop until it works. Leora tilted her head, studying him. Your people, are they all like you? Daniel smiled faintly. Stubborn. Yeah, most of us are. When they reached the control chamber, he stared in awe. The technology was beautiful yet foreign. Crystal conduits carrying light instead of wires, floating orbs instead of monitors. But the problem was clear. A power surge had fried the core. The Zeltharan engineers said it was impossible to fix without special quantum crystals that had been lost during the war. Daniel thought for a moment. Then he opened his tool case. Maybe you don't need them, he said. You just need to reroute the energy manually. He used copper coils from his suit, a few pieces of his ship's wiring, and pure improvisation. The aliens watched in stunned silence as he patched circuits with human materials, simple, crude, but effective. When he connected the final wire, the tower hummed. Slowly, the lights came alive. A bright pulse shot into the sky. The defense grid was partially active again. Cheers erupted from the watching soldiers. Leora's eyes shone. You did it. No Zeltharan has ever achieved this since the First War. Daniel wiped sweat from his brow. Guess sometimes it helps not to know it's impossible. When the Queen heard of the success, she came in person to see him. The light from the repaired tower reflected across her crystalline face. You are truly remarkable, Captain Hayes, she said. Our people could not restore what you have done in a single day. Daniel shrugged modestly. Back home we call it problem solving. Sometimes all it takes is a new perspective. The Queen bowed her head slightly, a rare gesture among her kind. Then perhaps, human, you were not sent here by chance. Perhaps the stars chose to guide you to us. Daniel looked up at the glowing sky. The swarm still moved in the distance, a dark cloud of death slowly returning. He took a deep breath. Then we better get to work. Because they're not done yet. The Queen nodded, determination lighting her face. Then let us prepare. From this moment you are not a stranger, Daniel Hayes. You are an ally of Zelthara. And for the first time since his crash, Daniel felt a spark of hope. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was fighting for something greater. The sun rose over Zelthara, casting golden light across the crystalline towers of Aralis. For Daniel Hayes, sleep had been impossible. He had spent the night in the royal workshop, examining the alien machinery with tools and improvisations that made the Zeltharan engineers gape in astonishment. Princess Leora stood quietly in the corner, her violet glow dimmed by worry. She watched Daniel's hands move over circuits and power conduits, repairing systems that her people had once considered untouchable. You really understand this, don't you? She asked, her voice curious but soft. Daniel paused, wiping sweat from his brow. Not always in the way you do, he admitted. I don't know your tech by tradition. I know it by logic. If it works one way here, maybe it can work another way there. Leora tilted her head, watching him twist a glowing crystal rod with his human tools. Your mind? It is very different from ours. Daniel grinned. Yeah. We like to find shortcuts, invent things that aren't in the manuals, break rules sometimes. Gets us into trouble, and sometimes saves lives. She stepped closer, curious and cautious. You are brave and yet not like the warriors we train. You do not fight with your body or crystal weapons. You fight with ideas, Daniel laughed. Ideas can win more battles than swords ever will. The engineers whispered among themselves. It was unheard of for a human to solve problems that had stumped generations of Zeltharans. Yet here he was, improvising and thinking in ways no one had imagined. By midday, Daniel had fixed 3 towers, rerouted energy flows, and partially restored the orbital shield system. The Queen herself arrived to inspect his work. "You have done the impossible," Queen Sarathiel said, her voice carrying pride and awe. "Our elders would have taken years to repair even 1 tower, and you have fixed 3 in a single rotation." Daniel shrugged modestly. "I just start somewhere and keep going." "You'd be surprised what you can do when you're desperate." Sarathiel studied him, then asked carefully, "And what do you desire, human?" "You have saved many lives already." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't come here for rewards, I just couldn't watch your world fall without trying to help. That's what humans do." Leora, standing beside her mother, tilted her head. "Your people, they would help even strangers?" "Yes," Daniel said simply. "We hope to. Not always perfectly. But we try." The Queen's gaze softened. She had seen heroes among her own people. But this human, this fragile, strange creature, carried courage in a way she had never witnessed. That afternoon, Daniel was led to the central command chamber. It was massive, with glowing panels floating in the air and intricate circuits of crystal that pulsed with energy. The engineers had tried countless times to synchronize the system with the main planetary shield, but nothing worked. Daniel studied the patterns. His human brain worked differently. He saw connections the aliens did not. After a moment, he reached for a crystal that pulsed with unstable energy. "This is a feedback crystal," he said aloud, mostly to himself. "If I redirect the output through this junction, it could stabilize the entire shield grid." Leora stepped closer. "Are you certain it will not explode?" Daniel smiled. "Never completely certain, but it's worth a try." With careful hands, he rerouted the energy using makeshift circuits, some drawn from his own ship's wreckage. The crystal pulsed brighter and brighter. Engineers watched, holding their breath. And then, with a hum that resonated through the city, the main shield activated. A glowing dome of energy spread across Zelthara, cutting through the lingering storm clouds. The room erupted in cheers. Leora's violet glow shone brighter than ever, her eyes wide with admiration. "You did it. The shield. It's working," she said. Daniel chuckled, brushing soot from his hands. "Told you. Just needed a little human improvisation." Over the next few rotations, Daniel worked tirelessly. He not only repaired machines, but also trained the engineers to think differently, to combine Zeltharan crystal technology with human mechanical logic. One evening, while reviewing a map of the incoming Void Swarm routes, Daniel noticed something unusual. The swarm didn't move randomly. It was organized, almost like it was following a commander. "It's tactical," he said. "These aren't mindless machines. Someone or something is controlling them." Leora looked worried. "We believed the swarm was guided by instinct. If they have a commander, our people may not survive another attack." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare. We learn their patterns, anticipate their moves, and we fight smarter." Leora studied him, fascinated. "Your determination. It is unlike anything I have seen. Our greatest generals are cautious, but you do not fear failure." Daniel shrugged. "Fear doesn't help. You either act or you get destroyed. I choose to act." That night, Leora could not sleep. She thought of the human, the strange being who had fallen from the stars and repaired what no Zeltharan could. There was something about his presence that was both calming and inspiring. Perhaps, she thought, he might be the key to saving their world. Days passed, and Daniel became a fixture in the kingdom. He ate meals with engineers, shared jokes with soldiers, and even explored the royal gardens with Leora during brief breaks. The gardens were magnificent, filled with glass-like flowers and glowing fountains. "You have a curious mind," Leora said one day as they walked. "You see solutions where we see only obstacles." Daniel looked at her and smiled. "Sometimes obstacles are just puzzles waiting to be solved." "I guess humans like puzzles." She laughed softly, a sound like bells. "And your courage. It is strange and admirable. You are small and fragile compared to us, yet you carry yourself as if you are mighty." Daniel scratched the back of his neck. Maybe it's not about size. Maybe it's about refusing to give up. For a moment, silence fell over the garden. Leora studied him in thought. She realized that this human, this odd creature, was teaching her people something they had almost forgotten. Hope. But hope would soon be tested. Sensors detected the void swarm reorganizing. This time their movements were sharper, faster, more precise. Daniel studied the readings carefully. They've adapted, he said grimly. They've learned our patterns. We need a new plan. The Queen summoned him to the royal chamber. Our people trust you, Daniel. We cannot face them blindly again. Daniel bowed. We'll need to combine human strategy with the Zeltharan technology. I have an idea, but I will need your best pilots, Leora, and full access to your fleet. She nodded without hesitation. You shall have it. Whatever you need to save Zelthara, you shall have. Daniel studied the royal charts, tracing lines and vectors. If we deploy the towers in a triangular formation and time our orbital cannons, we can funnel the swarm into a trap. It's risky, but it might work. Vorath, the elder engineer, spoke cautiously. Such a tactic is unprecedented. It may fail. Daniel met his gaze. Yes, but doing nothing will fail for sure. Trust me, it's worth the risk. The Queen watched silently. She knew the outcome could cost many lives. But she also knew Daniel's mind had already saved them once. Perhaps she thought he could do it again. By the end of the part, Daniel had become more than a visitor. He was now a strategist, a teacher, and a symbol of hope. The Zeltharans looked at him not as a fragile human, but as someone capable of changing their destiny. And Princess Leora? She could not stop thinking about him. His courage, his mind, his heart. She had always admired great warriors and wise leaders among her own people, but none had inspired her like this human stranger from the stars. As night fell over Oralis, Daniel stared at the sky. The swarm loomed, waiting. The city below shone with the light of restored towers and shields. He clenched his fists. Bring it on, he muttered quietly. I'm ready. The skies above Zelthara darkened as the void swarm returned. The creatures moved with terrifying precision, like a living storm of metal and energy. This time there was no hesitation. They knew the kingdom's defenses and were adapting. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at the edge of the main command bridge, surrounded by Zeltharan officers. His eyes scanned the battlefield through energy monitors that displayed the swarm's movements in real time. Every instinct he had learned in human space combat was now at play. They're faster, more coordinated than before, Daniel said, pointing at a cluster of drones advancing toward the capital. But if we time it right, we can force them into the trap we set with the shield towers. Princess Leora stood beside him, her violet glow brighter than usual. Do you truly believe this will work, Daniel? He nodded firmly. I don't just believe, I know. But we have to act quickly. One wrong move and it's over, the Queen Sarathiel observed from the rear platform. Her tall form gleamed with the light of the towers below. You have our trust, she said quietly. Lead us to victory. Daniel ran through the plan one last time. The orbital towers would create a triangular field of energy, funneling the swarm into a narrow corridor. Once trapped, the cannons would fire in precise bursts, destroying as many drones as possible. Timing is everything, Daniel said. If the swarm detects the trap too soon, they'll escape. We only get one chance. The Zeltharan fleet prepared for deployment. Ships shaped like crystalline birds took flight, their hulls glowing with energy. Daniel climbed into a modified dreadnought, a massive ship equipped with cannons he had helped recalibrate. The AI in the dreadnought hummed as he interfaced with its controls. Let's give them a surprise they won't forget, he muttered. The first wave of the swarm appeared over the horizon, a moving shadow that blotched out the suns. The dreadnought shuddered as Daniel initiated the first phase of the plan. He coordinated the shield towers and orbital cannons, aligning their pulses perfectly with the predicted swarm path. Now, he shouted. Energy beams erupted from the towers, cutting through the approaching swarm. Drones collided with the shields and were disintegrated in flashes of plasma. The swarm faltered but did not stop. They adjusted quickly, sending smaller units to flank the capital. Daniel's mind raced. Divert more power to the lateral shields. Funnel the side drones into the trap. The Zeltharan engineers obeyed instantly, redirecting energy with precision Daniel had helped teach them. Slowly, the swarm began to funnel into the triangular energy corridor as planned. Leora watched from the command platform, her glow intensifying as the trap took shape. It's working, Daniel, your plan. It's actually working. He smiled briefly, his eyes never leaving the monitors. Not done yet. Wait for the main burst. Timing is critical. The swarm's central group reached the narrow corridor. Daniel activated the orbital cannons. Beams of concentrated energy shot downward, slicing through drones with surgical precision. Explosions lit the sky as mechanical bodies fell like raining sparks. The Zeltheran fleet joined the attack, swooping in from above and below, striking the swarm where it was weakest. Daniel directed them, anticipating the enemy's adaptive movements. But the swarm had a surprise. A massive drone emerged from the center, larger and faster than the rest. Its body was covered in blackened crystal plating and its eyes glowed with red intelligence. It was a command unit controlling the swarm. Daniel's jaw tightened. There it is, the brain of this swarm. Take it down and the rest will scatter. Leora's voice was firm. Then we must strike together. I will guide our fleet to its weak points. The battle intensified. Daniel piloted the dreadnought through the swarm, weaving between laser fire and plasma blasts. Each shot he fired was calculated, aimed at the larger drone's critical points. Smaller drones swarmed him, but his human intuition helped him anticipate their movements. He dodged, fired, and maneuvered like no Zeltheran could. Leora guided the fleet with precision, coordinating attacks from multiple directions. Focus on its joints! Use combined energy pulses, she commanded. The command drone staggered, its armor cracking under the relentless assault. Daniel pushed the dreadnought forward, firing the main cannon. The beam hit the drone's core, and for a moment everything went silent. Then the drone exploded in a brilliant flash, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The smaller drones faltered, then scattered chaotically. The orbital cannons finished the cleanup, disintegrating the remaining swarm units. Silence fell over the city as the last echoes of the battle faded. Smoke rose from the outskirts of the capital, but the main city remained intact. The Zeltharans cheered, their crystalline forms glowing brighter than ever in the twilight. Daniel leaned back in the dreadnought's control seat, exhausted but exhilarated. His hands shook slightly and he let out a long breath. You did it, Leora said softly, stepping onto the platform beside him. You saved us. Truly saved us, Daniel shook his head. We did it. Your people fought bravely, I just helped guide them. The Queen approached, her expression proud but serious. Captain Hayes, your courage and mind have saved Zelthera. Our world would have fallen without you. Daniel looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. I only did what I could. You have brave warriors here, strong and clever. I just gave them a little direction. Sarathiel studied him closely. Your kind is extraordinary. Fragile as you appear, yet mighty in ways our people rarely understand. The aftermath of the battle was a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damage while medics tended to those injured. Daniel moved through the city, offering guidance and encouragement. Everywhere he went, the Zeltharans watched him with awe and respect. Princess Leora followed him quietly. She had never seen anyone so focused, so unafraid, yet so humble. Do you always face danger like this? She asked softly. Daniel shrugged. Not always. But if you wait for safety, nothing ever changes. Sometimes you have to risk everything to protect what matters. She nodded, her violet glow flickering thoughtfully. You remind me of the heroes from our old stories. But even our greatest heroes do not think like you. Your mind, it is unlike anything we have ever known. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe that's what humans do best. Think differently when everything else seems impossible. That night, Daniel stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars above Zelthera were bright, unmarred by the swarm for the first time in many cycles. He could hear the faint hum of repaired towers and the soft footsteps of citizens rebuilding. Leora joined him quietly, her hands folded in front of her. Captain Hayes, she said, your people are different from ours, but in ways that inspire hope. You have shown us that even the smallest being can change the fate of many. Daniel looked at her, touched by her words. I didn't come here to inspire. I came to survive. And to help. But maybe hope is a side effect. She smiled faintly. Hope is powerful, and you have given it freely. For a long moment they stood together, watching the city glow under the twin suns. A bond was forming, one that transcended species, language, and worlds. Daniel had not only saved the kingdom, he had begun to change it, teaching the Zeltharans a new way to fight and survive. In the royal chamber, Queen Sarathiel addressed her people. The Void Swarm has been defeated. Our world stands because of courage, strategy, and unity. And we owe a great debt to one from another world, a human who has shown us the power of mind and heart together. Daniel listened quietly from the back of the chamber. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had come as a stranger, but now he was part of Zelthara's story, a story of survival, courage, and hope. Princess Leora approached him afterward. "You have saved more than our towers and our fleet, Daniel. You have saved our belief in ourselves." Daniel smiled, exhausted but happy. "Then let's make sure it never fades. I'll help you build a future where the swarm can never threaten you again." And as the twin suns set over the repaired city, Daniel Hayes realized something important. Being human wasn't about size, strength, or weapons. It was about daring to act when others would hesitate, and daring to believe that even the impossible could be done. For the first time since crashing on Zelthara, he felt truly at home. The city of Auralis shimmered under the soft glow of repaired towers. Life had returned slowly but surely, after the great battle with the Void Swarm. Citizens moved through streets that sparkled like glass, laughter replacing the nervous whispers of fear. But in the royal palace, the air was thick with solemnity and anticipation. Queen Sarathiel summoned Captain Daniel Hayes to the Grand Chamber. The human entered cautiously, aware that this meeting was unlike any he had faced before. He had fought, repaired, and led armies, but the weight in the Queen's voice told him this was something different. "Captain Hayes," the Queen began, her crystalline form gleaming in the chamber's light, "you have done more than save our towers, more than protect our people. You have preserved our way of life. For this I am eternally grateful." Daniel bowed respectfully. "It was my honor, Your Majesty. I only did what any being would do if they could help." Sarathiel studied him for a moment, her glowing eyes reflecting wisdom and centuries of leadership. "You are not like any being we have known. You are fragile, yet strong. Your kind is unusual, yet remarkable. And because of this, I wish to offer you a gift, the highest honor of Zelthara." Daniel blinked. "A gift?" "Yes," she replied, her voice steady. "Our culture holds a tradition. When one saves the kingdom, when one proves extraordinary courage and loyalty, the Queen may offer the bond of her daughter to the Savior, a bond of trust, respect, and unity." Daniel's brow furrowed. "Bond of—" Queen Sarathiel gestured, and Princess Leora appeared beside her. Leora's violet glow was soft but steady. She looked at Daniel with a mixture of curiosity, admiration, and quiet hope. "In Zelthara," the Queen explained, "this bond is not marriage as your people understand it. It is a sacred joining of spirits, a lifelong partnership of trust and friendship. Those who are bonded share knowledge, wisdom, and the responsibility of protecting the kingdom together." Daniel swallowed, processing the words. He had never been offered such an honor. So much trust, so much responsibility from an alien civilization. I don't know what to say," he admitted honestly. The Queen smiled faintly. "Say only what your heart believes. Know this, the bond is a choice, not a demand." Leora stepped closer, her voice calm. "Daniel, I have watched you these past cycles. I have seen how you inspire courage, how you fight not only for yourself but for others. I wish to learn from you, and I wish to stand beside you in protecting Zelthara." Daniel felt a warmth he had never experienced before. He had saved the city, but now he realized he was being offered something deeper: trust, respect, and a chance to connect across worlds. "Princess." He began, unsure how to respond. "I'm just a human. I've never done anything like this before." Leora smiled softly. "And yet you have done it. That is why I offer you this bond. Not because of who you were, but because of what you are capable of being." The Queen extended her hand, crystal fingers glimmering. "Daniel Hayes, do you accept the bond of Zelthara?" Daniel took a deep breath. He thought of the humans he had left behind, of the countless worlds beyond the stars, and of the people he had grown to care about on this planet. He realized that this bond was more than a gift. It was an opportunity to protect, to grow, and to learn in ways he could not have imagined. "I accept," he said finally, his voice steady. "Not for honor or reward, but to stand with your people and to honor your trust." The chamber pulsed with light as the Queen and Leora joined hands with Daniel. A soft wave of energy passed through him, unlike anything he had felt. It was warmth, understanding, and connection, a recognition that transcended words, species, and worlds. Over the next cycles, the bond became more than symbolic. Daniel worked side by side with Leora, training in both strategy and leadership. Though she was a princess and he was a human, they learned from each other. "Your approach to thinking is unusual," Leora admitted one day as they studied battle simulations. "Humans see patterns we cannot. Your mind finds solutions where ours see only obstacles." Daniel chuckled. "Maybe it's the way we grow up, learning to improvise because the universe rarely hands us clear instructions. You Seltherans have centuries of knowledge, and I have, well, creativity under pressure." Together they strengthened the kingdom's defenses. Daniel introduced new strategies for the fleet, combining human tactics with Zeltheran technology. They rebuilt damaged towers, enhanced orbital shields, and trained young warriors to think creatively in battle. The people of Zelthara marveled at the sight of a human working alongside their princess. Some whispered that perhaps the stars themselves had sent him to their world, a being from another galaxy to remind them of courage, ingenuity, and hope. During quiet moments, Leora and Daniel walked through the restored gardens. The crystal flowers glimmered like jewels, reflecting both the twin suns and the glow of their own bond. "You have changed everything here," Leora said softly. "Not just our towers or our defenses, but our hearts. We have learned to hope again because of you." Daniel looked at her. "It's not just me. Your people are strong, smart, and brave. I just helped them see what they already could do." She smiled, tilting her head. "Perhaps. But humans are different. You bring perspective, courage, and something else. Something that inspires us to try harder." Daniel laughed lightly. "Guess that's our superpower. Getting in trouble and figuring out how to fix it." She laughed too, a soft sound that echoed like bells in the garden. For the first time, Daniel realized that this alien world had become more than just a place to survive. It had become a world worth protecting, a world where friendship, trust, and bonds could cross galaxies. Weeks passed and the bond between Daniel and Leora strengthened. He became more than an outsider. He became a leader, a teacher, and a symbol of hope. Together they worked to improve the city's defenses, share knowledge, and rebuild the people's confidence. Queen Serathil watched them from afar, proud of the choice she had made. "He is unlike any being we have known," she said quietly to Vorath, the elder engineer. "Fragile yet mighty, strange yet extraordinary, and he is bonded with my daughter not for power but for unity." Vorath nodded slowly. "It is rare indeed. Perhaps the stars intended this." One evening, as the twin suns set, Daniel and Leora stood on the balcony of the royal palace. Below them, the city glowed with life, towers humming softly, citizens rebuilding, and fleets preparing for the uncertain future. "Do you ever regret leaving your world, Daniel?" Leora asked, her violet glow reflecting in his eyes. He shook his head. "No, I came here by accident, yes. But now, I am here for a reason. I am here to help, to protect, and to learn, and I have found friends I could never have imagined." She smiled. "And perhaps you have found a home of sorts. Not by blood, but by heart." Daniel looked at her, understanding the depth of her words. This bond, this sacred joining, was more than a duty. It was a bridge between two worlds, a connection that promised protection, friendship, and shared destiny. "I think you're right," he said quietly. "I've never felt more alive, more needed. And I'll do everything I can to keep this world safe." Leora reached out and lightly touched his hand, the glow from her fingers mingling with his warmth. "And we will face the future together. Whatever comes, we are stronger because of this bond." The queen watched them from the palace hall, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. She had offered her daughter, not for duty, but for the future of the kingdom. And in choosing Daniel, Zelthera had chosen hope, courage, and a bond that no swarm, storm, or enemy could break. As night fell over the restored city, the twin suns disappearing behind the horizon, Daniel felt a sense of peace he had never known. He was a human among aliens, a stranger who had become family, and through this bond he knew that the kingdom he had saved would not only survive but thrive, under the guidance of its people, and with a human heart standing alongside them. The future was uncertain. Challenges would come. The Void Swarm might return. But Daniel and Leora together were ready. And for the first time in his life, Daniel Hayes realized that saving a kingdom was not only about courage, it was about trust, friendship, and the bonds that tie one being to another, across stars and worlds. The morning light bathed the city of Oralis in soft gold. The twin suns rose over the horizon, reflecting off crystalline towers and glimmering streets. Life had returned to the capital, stronger and brighter than ever, but the memory of the Void Swarm's attacks lingered in every mind. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at the edge of the royal balcony, overlooking the bustling city. The people moved with purpose, rebuilding, training, and celebrating the survival of their world. Daniel had grown used to the sight, and yet every day it reminded him of how far he had come. Beside him, Princess Leora walked silently. Her violet glow was steady, radiating calm and confidence. Over the past cycles, she and Daniel had worked together tirelessly, training fleets, strengthening defenses, and preparing for threats that might come from the stars. "You've changed so much since you arrived," Leora said softly, "not just in skill but in spirit. The people of Zelthara see you as more than a savior. They see you as a symbol." Daniel smiled faintly. "I'm just a human, Leora. I've done what I could. The real strength comes from your people." She turned to him, her eyes shining. "Perhaps. But your mind, your courage, it has taught us to believe in ourselves again. That is a gift we will never forget." The Queen, Sarathiel, approached them with a quiet grace. "You two have done more than rebuild a city," she said. "You have strengthened the soul of Zelthara. The people now trust not only their technology and weapons, but their own minds. And that is a legacy that will last beyond this generation." Daniel nodded, humbled by her words. "I only guided them. They did the real work." Sarathiel's gaze lingered on him for a moment. "Humans are remarkable creatures, Captain Hayes, fragile in form yet capable of courage and determination that rival even the strongest Zeltharans. You have reminded us that greatness is not measured by size or power, but by heart and action." Daniel glanced at Leora, feeling the truth in the Queen's words. Together they had faced impossible odds, yet here they stood, victorious, alive, and united. Later that day, Daniel visited the training grounds. Young Zeltharan cadets practiced maneuvers he had taught them, combining alien techniques with human ingenuity. Some moved awkwardly at first, struggling to adapt to his unconventional methods, but each cycle showed remarkable improvement. "You really think differently," one cadet said as he adjusted a floating shield module. "Your ideas, they make sense even when we don't understand why." Daniel smiled. "Sometimes you have to look at a problem from a new angle. That's how humans survive." Leora approached quietly. "You are teaching them more than combat," she said. "You are teaching them to think, to question, to create. That is as important as any weapon." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. A sharp mind can be sharper than any blade or laser." The news of Zelthara's recovery spread quickly to neighboring systems. Traders, diplomats, and explorers came to witness the city and its rebuilt fleet. Many marveled at the human who had become a part of this alien world, a stranger who had crossed the stars and taught an entire civilization to rise again. One evening, Daniel and Leora stood at the top of the tallest tower, watching ships leave and arrive from distant planets. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the horizon, a reminder of the vast universe waiting outside Zelthara's skies. "Do you ever wonder what your world thinks of you?" Leora asked. Daniel chuckled softly. "I doubt they know I'm alive. But that's okay. I found a purpose here that I couldn't have imagined back home." She smiled. "And you found a family of sorts. Not by blood, but by heart." Daniel looked at her, the warmth of the bond between them undeniable. "Yes. And I will protect this family, this kingdom, for as long as I can." Months passed, and the bond between Daniel and Leora strengthened even further. They shared strategy, science, and stories of human and Zeltharan culture. Together, they built alliances with neighboring planets, strengthened trade routes, and trained new fleets to defend against any future attacks. One day, a council meeting was called with Queen Sarathiel presiding. Representatives from neighboring systems attended, marveling at the human who had saved Zelthara. "You have taught us much," said one elder ambassador. "Your ingenuity and courage have bridged worlds." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. Zelthara's people fought bravely. I only showed them new ways to see the problem," Princess Leora added, "and he has shown us that courage and heart are just as powerful as technology. Together, we can face anything." The room erupted in agreement. The alliance was strong, and Daniel's role as both advisor and protector was secured, not as a foreign conqueror, but as a valued partner. But even in times of peace, Daniel never forgot the lessons of the past. He continued training, exploring, and preparing for the unknown. The memory of the Void Swarm remained, a reminder that threats could appear at any moment, and vigilance was necessary. One night, while walking through the gardens, Leora asked, "Do you ever miss your home, Daniel?" He looked at the twin moons above, their soft light reflecting in her eyes. "Sometimes, but my home now is here. I found purpose, friendship, and trust. That is more than I could have hoped for." She smiled and reached for his hand. "Then we will face the future together. Not as princess and outsider, but as partners in every sense." Daniel squeezed her hand, understanding the depth of their bond. "Yes, together we will protect Zelthera and everything it stands for." Years passed and the kingdom flourished. The people of Zelthera became more confident, inventive, and courageous. The fleet expanded. Trade routes strengthened, and neighboring planets came to rely on their guidance. And at the center of it all stood a human, a stranger from the stars whose courage, ingenuity, and heart had changed the course of a civilization. Daniel's name became legendary. Children played at being him, imitating his fearless strategies. Scholars studied his methods, blending human and Zeltheran knowledge to create new technology, and Princess Leora remained at his side, not as a guardian but as a partner, sharing the responsibility of leadership and growth. The Queen often watched them together, reflecting on the choice she had made. Offering her daughter to Daniel had been an unusual decision, one not taken lightly. But she had seen the bond grow, watched how the human and princess inspired each other, and realized that it had secured more than the present. It had guaranteed the future. "Perhaps," she said quietly to Vorath, the elder engineer, "this was what the stars intended. Not just a hero, but a teacher, a friend, and a bridge between worlds." Vorath nodded. "Indeed, Majesty. He has shown that greatness comes in many forms, sometimes from the most unexpected places." One evening, Daniel and Leora stood together on the balcony of the palace, overlooking the thriving city. The towers glowed softly, the fleet shimmered in the harbor, and the citizens moved freely, their confidence restored. Daniel turned to Leora. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" She smiled, her violet glow mingling with the golden light of the setting suns. "I think about how far we've come and how much further we can go. Together, we can face anything." Daniel nodded. "And if the swarm or any other threat returns, we'll be ready. Not just with weapons, but with courage, knowledge, and trust." She took his hand, their bond stronger than any crystal or shield. "Then let's continue to protect this kingdom, not just for today, but for generations to come." Daniel looked out at the city, feeling the full weight of what he had accomplished. He had arrived as a stranger, a human lost in a distant galaxy. But he had become so much more, a hero, a teacher, a protector, and a friend. And through the bond with Leora, he had created something lasting, a bridge between two worlds. As the twin suns set, Daniel Hayes felt a deep peace. The kingdom was safe, the people were strong, and the future was bright. He realized that the greatest victories were not just battles won, but lives changed, hope restored, and bonds formed across the stars. And so, in a kingdom once threatened by annihilation, a human's courage and heart had become a legend, a story told for generations, inspiring hope, daring, and unity. Captain Daniel Hayes had saved a kingdom, and in doing so, had created a legacy that would shine across the galaxies forever.